SCL. There we go. Here I am. Welcome back, everybody. That's what I said before. It's time for the SCL. That catches us up with where I am now. I'm Aggro, joined by guest caster, very special in many ways.
Oh,
John,
thank you so much.
Young Link Finch. Dude, Young Link Finch. I thought I said Young Finch Link. It's been a long day.
It has
here.
been a long
It really
day.
has been. But we're here with the final set, and it really should be a good one.
Oh yeah, I'm very excited for this set here. We got Elevate going up against Strictly Business. Elevate here has a chance to show us exactly what they're capable of here at Strictly Business. Did well last week too, so definitely an exciting set.
Yeah, Strictly Business, one of the three teams that found their 2-0 victories in week number 1. Elevated a very close set with Obey Alliance, I believe.
Yeah.
It ended up not going in their favor. They're sitting at 0 points still. Strictly Business is an opportunity to really get those points rolling. Sitting at 6, they'd be tied with Astral Authority.
And it is so important for them to be able to get these points here early because, as you said, there have been some we just saw a split. Getting 1 point, such a big difference instead of just getting 0 points for them. So Elevate going to need to do whatever they can to find a way to split here with Strictly Business or just 2-0 them. I'm sure they prefer that.
And Kenshin, the guy who's on your screen right now, actually no longer with Elevate. That's the big change for them. He was with them for so long. Now it's Visions in that support role for him, and he played very, very well in their week 1 performance. The Sylvanas pools were incredibly consistent from him, looking to see what exactly he can bring out for the squad this time.
Yeah, and that's Neximus we're seeing there for him, and that's going to be their solo laner over there. So as well, they have a strong team here. Does Elevate playing up to that skill level, though, that's what we're going to be looking at from playing up that individual skill.
In Strictly Business, despite coming out of the Challenger Cup scene, they have so many veterans on their squad.
Yeah.
They've got Matt Koiz in that support role, Fatal Ghost, who's really just come into his own here in his first season in the SPL, but he's looked phenomenal. This is a group of guys that have a lot of experience, that have been there. Baronic in that mid lane as well. These are guys that make big plays and have been on the big stages as well. Baronic, Matt Koiz, both played on the world stage.
And we saw Caden in particular play pretty well on that Thor. Maybe it took him just a little bit to get going, but once he did, those Thor walls were coming in amazing, just like this, diving in on the back line and creating all kinds of havoc for him. And then you already said it, Baronic. Felt like the dude couldn't miss.
Baronic is one of the strongest mid laners on console right now. There's no doubt about it. Caden, new addition to this team and newly joining them, and looks pretty comfortable still. As you mentioned, didn't get off to the greatest start in week number 1, which we actually just played earlier today, but towards the end of that set, looked like an absolutely lights-out jungler and always has that potential to carry a game all on his own.
Well, let's find out what carries they decide to pick and everything else they decide to pick here in the picks and bans. Let's get them up here on the screen. Elevate and Strictly Business, our final set, but sure to be an exciting one. And right away, Thoth banned out. We just saw Thoth. In this last game, played very, very well. Yeah,
Crimson was going off on this Thoth, so Elevate didn't even get a chance to see that probably, but still know that Thoth is one of the premier mid laners right now. Safety, damage, CC, he brings it all.
Odin also banned out here, also can be a terror right now. That Odin cage so potent, that's why he's getting banned out. And then Giannis, not seeing a lot of him pick or ban. What's this one about?
It is only Baronic who's playing this god right now, and Baronic plays it really, really well. And that's the power of a god like Giannis. Even if it's not necessarily meta, not everyone's playing it, if you can play it, it's automatically ban worthy because it does so much for your team. Really glad to see a console mid laner pick it up and put it in their god pool.
Then Strictly Business then are forced to ban out Scotty, which leaves Ardio up available for Elevate. So they go ahead and snatch it up. Strictly Business, I mean, if you can still get Terra, it's not like you're struggling, but they do have a strong support here for Terra.
Terra and Thor, so 2 comfort picks. Strictly Business have picked both those gods in both their games so far in this fall split. Terra for Matt Koiz, love this pick. If SB is getting any god on the draft at any given time, they probably just give Matt Koiz Terra right away anyways. He looks so good on it.
Nemesis went ahead and locked in, very likely to be for Dr. L, but
wait, is that
Apwash taken there in the mid lane.
For real? Apwash? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Elevate's always been into doing weird things. I mean, Dr. L has played just about every god on the cast and probably has whenever he pulls out the Morrigan. But Apwash, I was ready to say a lot of things on cast today, John, and Apwash wasn't really one of them.
Well, Apwash has so much AoE damage that he is able to bring. He doesn't have any mobility. That can be his real drawback, but he does a lot for your team. So hopefully we'll see him pull the most out of him.
Now look, Apwash, not a meta god right now. Not a god that we see a lot of, but there are situations where I think he can be applied and see great success in the current meta. Against Terra and Thor are not those situations. I mean, those are gods that punish slightly immobile gods, let alone completely immobile gods like Apwash very, very hard. Now you have a really tough ask of even two Guardians like RTO and Ganesh to try and peel for Apwash from away with Terra, Thor, Sobek, Hui now. These are gods that are just that just can punish that mid laner so easily.
Yeah, Hui and Jingwei picked up here. Those are going to be like their AD carry picks. Hui for Strictly Business, as well as Raijin, who we've been seeing a lot of in the middle lane here lately. So he's going to be the one going up against Apwash. And Raijin actually does have good movement, so he's not worried about that.
Exactly, and he can move into Apwash with that Thunder Crash, mez him, and then just blow him up with the rest of the roster. I really like this pick for Strictly Business because it gives them the clear in the early game. Baronic, excellent whenever he gets pressure with gods like this. And this is the type of god that Baronic really succeeds on, is gods like Hebo, Zeus, the ones that want to dive into the middle of things and really get their feet wet. You can play that way with the Raijin. You can be an initiator with that Thunder Crash. Probably going to end up dying for it, but that's kind of Baronic's style. He wants to go in and trade 2-for-1, 3v1, and give his team the advantage.
I want to ask you something. What do you think about our Khepri pick here to go along with this not very safe Apwash?
Khepri would have been nice. I think Ganesh is a good call, though, because of how many channeled abilities Strictly Business have on their side. Everything Terra does is two-stage. You have to lay down the monolith, then dash through it. You have to put up the walls, then crash them together. That silence that comes out instantly from Ganesh's Ohm is really good into that matchup. Plus, Kaden wants to be able to teleport to the hammer. He wants to be able to spin with the Berserker's Barrage. Both of those can get interrupted as well. But Khepri might not have been a bad look either. I don't know if there's enough peel in the world to save Apwash from the current Strictly Business composition, though. And why pick it third? You could have last picked this god, and it still would have confused everyone. Why did Elevate show their hand so early?
That is a pretty interesting point here, is we do see Kaden and Baronic, since they got the out clear, go in and invade that speed buff here on Elevate side. So that's very important, as well as Jarman getting pushed out here on that right-hand side jungle too.
It's what you expect to see on the right-hand side, and that's why Ryan Jarman starts at his own blue buff with the Hand of the Gods, just to make sure that he can secure it safely. It does end up losing a lot of that minion wave, takes some good poke as well. But between his health potions, that innate sustain that Sobek has, he's not going to be too worried about it.
Over here on this right-hand side, there were two wards early from Elevate, so I think they're worried about Kaden and Jarman on the solo side of the map and the aggression they could possibly have. They did seem concerned in making sure they knew where those two aggressive early picks were going to be.
And making sure that Kaden isn't starting at the enemy speed, some sort of cheeky start. But I liked exactly what Strictly Business did. You know you're going to outpush literally any composition with Thor, Raijin just about in that mid lane, especially Apwash and Ganesh. So you're going to be able to push and get that speed buff without much contention. Good idea from Dr. L to just go into the enemy jungle right away, start in the solo lane, knowing that he's going to have pressure there with the RTO clear, which is really, really potent, even at level 1, because as with any stance switcher, is going to have access to 2 different abilities. I like that both teams know what the other wants to do.
And Matt Koi's and Fatal Ghost, as Mr. T takes a lot of pressure here from Kaden. Good job using the mess there to stop Apwash having any chance of getting out. Kaden ends up getting credited with that first blood.
So if you're new to Smite and don't really understand why Apwash is considered bad at a competitive level, you know, you're having fun with him in your casual games, that little moment right there is every reason why Apwash is not very viable at a competitive level. He just has no response to getting jumped on. Even other immobile mages, Zeus can burn you down before you can really kill him and put that damage out very, very quickly. Apwash's damage is excellent, yes, but it takes a little bit to go off. You need to lay down the 1, the 3, then you pop the 2, and the ultimate doesn't really dissuade anyone from going anywhere near him, whereas Zeus's does. Zeus can also do his damage from a much safer distance. Now, Apwash can pick up those corpses to give himself some sustain, and once he gets that Warlock Sash done, those go off of your percent HP, so you're healing yourself for more the more HP you build. Eventually, those zombies can become a source of sustain for Apwash, but in the early stages, there's no chance for Mr. T to survive there, even with his support right next to him.
And that's why we see him down there at the bottom of that XP chart as well. He is really struggling, Mr. T is, through the early games, trying to maintain levels, down to Raijin already a full level, even a little bit more, as Raijin looks like he's starting out some pen and the boots here right away. I'll talk to you a little bit about what Baronic's doing here in the mid.
So this is a start that was experimented with early on in Season 4, the Magic Focus start, because it gives you 25 power, and you're going to be using that pen tree at some point. This tells me that Baronic doesn't want to start Book of Thoth 2, because he wants to have that Sands of Time passive to give himself some more mana regen and that 10% CDR, but doesn't want to just sit there with only Boots 1, as Mr. Teep's probably dead again.
Yeah, this time Caden recognizing the aggression onto the speed buff here, or that they were the ones with the aggression, so they catch him out early,
Nice
but the ult there from Ganesha was very strong to make sure that Jarman ends up in a lot of trouble. Now it's Matt Koi's trying to get back out. That's why Baronic goes up into the ultimate, doesn't use it for the fear, tries to get some damage off. The stun, though, is enough, and the wall separates and gets Matt Koi's out of there. Nice job, Caden, with the walls.
Neximus is a pretty big bear and can't quite squeeze through, but Caden and Baronic need to be careful here because all three members of Elevate still pushing forward. Caden does manage to secure the speed, but can't pick it up because he's got to dash away.
He's just happy to secure the speed, I'm sure. And here he is coming over to pick it up. He ain't letting that one go. No jungler I've ever met is. And they're trying to do something to stop this blue buff invade here on the right-hand side as well. RDO getting pulled back in. Nice pluck from Jarman. Now RDO trying to escape here on the back-end side. Able to use their dash to get away from the slow from Jarman. But luckily the pluck might be back up for him here soon. Maybe just giving up on it. There's a fight further in the jungle.
Good stun by Matt Koi's and big damage onto Visions coming out of Baronic with that percussive storm. Doesn't have the Thunder Crash though, and Dr. L still going aggressive on this Nemesis, but he's been left alone now. Baronic able to dash away with that Thunder Crash. Is now Matt Koi's and Jarman, the two Guardians, not going to have a chance to finish off a full health assassin without use of their ultimates.
And Baronic ended up very low there as well. Lots of ultimates committed on the side of Strictly Business for that engage, but they do at least secure the speed. I wasn't able to see, did they secure the blue as well, or was that taken by Elevate?
Looks like it was taken by Elevate because Neximus is the only one with a blue buff right now, and as they're working on their own side. And again, Mr. Teep just punished. Even with, you could argue, a slight overcommit from Strictly Business, not enough of one to really punish them for it.
Episode 2 down here at that speed buff. Once again, Caden was trying to come down here and take that away from Elevate, but again, the Ganesha came out in response, and that was enough to deter their aggression over here on that right-hand side. They've recognized it. They've even got some wards down here to Elevate to see when they're trying to rotate in and take that buff.
Visions has been on point thus far with the Ganesh. His first Ganesh ultimate locked Ryan Jarman right on top of the walls, or maybe it was Matt Koi's, locked him right on top of the walls and just held the enemy in place on top of those bug zappers. That's the entire idea with Ganesh. You lay down the Dharmic Pillars, you hit them with the 3, you stun and knock up, but they're taking that tick damage consistently. You can almost solo a carry with how much damage that can really do. So good play from Visions thus far. He's been very consistent and really has been in the very short season thus far, but for every game for Elevate since stepping in for Kenshin.
Mr. Teep now has completed that Warlock Sash, so at this point he is starting to get those stacks going, hopefully adding to some of that survivability for him in case he comes under any more stress from Caden, or really just Baronic there in the mid lane. It seems like it hasn't really taken that much effort to put that Opwash under duress there in the mid.
And that's exactly what you expect against Opwash in the early game. Now, once Mr. Teep finishes off these stacks, gets himself some boots, and has a little bit more survivability, we could see that this Opwash ends up turning the fights in favor of Elevate, but it's a lot to ask for an Opwash to get there. Now, pairing it with the Ganesh in the mid lane actually makes a lot of sense because Ganesh is never going to take your last hits. Even if he's the one who last hits the minion, his passive bestows that upon whoever is closest to him, so Mr. Teep doesn't have to worry about making sure that he's last hitting every single minion in that wave. Even if Visions get the last hit, he's still going to get credit for it.
And it is a bit of a victory that they were able to secure their own red buff was Elevate, because Matt Koi's has been just hanging around on that left side of the map. I think they invaded earlier, so they were aware of what that respawn timer would be, and he's been trying to get positioning for it, but Elevate brought over Mr. Teep and Griffin so that they could secure it.
Dr. L thought about going for the speed buff, but when he saw 3 members around that wall, decided better against it. Instead, he's going to pay a visit to Ryan Jarman in the solo lane, but Jarman's still healthy enough that even with a Nemesis ult, not going to find a kill there for Elevate's jungler.
Caden comes in and threw out a couple abilities, didn't get too much out of it, and that's why Neximus might be going a little bit more aggressive. Dr. L here on the backside too. Jarman gets the pluck though onto Dr. L, pulls him back in under the tower. Ultimate comes out from Dr. L, but it wasn't enough. Caden up in the air actually, looking to try and drop back down, and he does. Dr. L into the ground.
Visions is here, drops the ultimate, but a little bit off the mark. With that first ability, Caden still juking it out. Actually teleports back towards Visions, but with the ultimate down, the Turn of Fate down as well, Vision's not going to have any kill potential there. Nice 2v2 victory for Strictly Business, and it just comes down to the fact that Dr. L was late on the purification beads in the pluck under tower.
Ryan Jarman under trouble now, and gets secured by Neximus. Just that easy. We saw Neximus actually get over here. Well, not Neximus, but Visions get over here a little bit before Matt Koiz. He was trying to rotate over later, and it ends up being that three against Jarman that lets them secure that kill.
And just not expecting that third member, I think. Even if that's just Visions and Neximus, maybe Jarman survives, though probably not with how long that Ganesh charge really locks you down in place. With Mr. Teep there, though, no chance for Ryan Jarman to survive, and that's a good assist for Teep to get.
Once again, Matt Koiz not letting you walk back into that middle lane for free. Mr. Teep pays about 40% of his HP for the pleasure and tries to get a few more stacks going on that Warlock Sash, as we do see Caden securing those mid-harpies.
Already 50 stacks for Mr. Teep, soon to be more after this wave. So off to a pretty good pace in terms of those Warlock Sash stacks, but take a look at where he is on the net worth charts. He's just above the bottom there. Only Dr. L and Ryan Jarman below him.
Yeah, he's having a hard time there in that mid lane, but it's kind of what you expect from Opwash. And all things considered, they're down about 1,000 gold here to Strictly Business, our Elevate, and really that's kind of what you kind of expect when you go with Opwash. But this Gold Fury, though, that's something they're not going to be looking to give up. Right now, Strictly Business are committing even the ultimate here on a Fatal Ghost as well. It looks like they were able to secure it, but Dr. L comes in onto Caden, and Caden just goes ahead and ults to get out.
But Caden eats the Nemesis ult when he was already CC immune and about to leave with that Anvil of Dawn. Now deciding if he wants to reinitiate. Dr. L may have dissuaded him from doing so with that Divine Retribution. So Strictly Business get the Gold Fury and escape without losing a whole lot for it. Just a couple of ultimates, and doesn't leave the door open for Elevate to get with the usual return objectives that we see teams go for whenever they lose Gold Furies. No Tier 1 tower push, no Portal Demon rush, nothing of that sort because of how healthy Strictly Business stayed despite getting that gold.
And Strictly Business, as if they were listening to the call there, they agree. Elevate wasn't far enough behind to justify that Opwash pick, so they went ahead and pushed the issue at 10 minutes on that Gold Fury. Now they're sitting more like 2,000 gold up with only a 1-kill lead because of their control around the map.
And Baronic has 1,000 of that gold over Mr. Teep, so as long as he can continue to push his lead, that's the player to watch out for Strictly Business, is how well Baronic is going to be able to play with this lead. He used that magic focus, turned it into the Spear of the Magus to try and give himself and the other members of his team some protection strip that's going to help out Ryan Jarman and Matt Koiz and the damage that they're going to be doing. And now he's working what's probably going to be a Book of Thoth to just give him a big power boost in that mid game to hold him over until he can finish off the Rod of Tahuti.
Dr. L poked out heavily there by Caden just now in that solo side jungle. But I also want to point out Strictly Business very much trying to prevent any kind of healing coming out from Elevate. We see the Brawler's Beat Stick and the Pestilence picked up here early by Jarman and Caden. What is it over here on this Elevate side that's got him so concerned? It's
the Opwash healing and the healing from RTO as Visions takes a big chunk of damage from Baronic and Caden. I think that could have been a Tycho Drums capability if Visions just gets pulled in by Baronic there. Baronic uses the ultimate for the CC instead of the damage. Caden's there with plenty of damage. It's probably a kill, but Baronic happy to hold on to that Tycho Drums ultimate because Strictly Business might be looking for another invade.
Dr. L could be in trouble getting pincered over here, and Caden's up in the air actually with his ultimate. Caden looking to drop down. He chooses to come down in the backside. Opwash ultimate immediately dropped to try and deter the aggression from Strictly Business, but that's not enough to deter Jarman, who's coming in trying to find Dr. L, who escaped on that right-hand side.
Just miscommunication there for Strictly Business. Baronic's looking at Dr. L, whereas Caden's looking at Visions.
Yeah.
If those two ultimates are on the same target, that's a kill for Strictly Business.
Either one of them if they're just the same.
Exactly, but splitting ends up with 0. Strictly Business still get the speed buffs, so they don't come up completely empty-handed, but still some communication to work on for Strictly Business for this new mid-jungle combo.
That does end up going a little bit better for Elevate than it could have. So I'm sure they're thanking their lucky stars. But we saw a little bit of what Opwash can bring to those team fights, though. As soon as there was, the signal from Strictly Business that they were committing, that ultimate is so much area denial, it's really hard to move through.
It is, but it doesn't slow. That was removed a long time ago whenever Opwash was really dominant. And yes, there was a time where Opwash was really dominant. It doesn't slow, and it doesn't do that much damage. I think that's really the part of his kit that scares me the least whenever I go up against Opwash is I'm not really too scared to walk through that ultimate. It's not a Zeus ultimate that I really have to think twice about whether or not I want to commit to.
Jarman under trouble over here underneath this right tower. The ultimate comes out from Dr. L, and that's going to strip those protections. They've got a good chance to get this one secured here. He does heal up off those 2 targets, but with Visions rotating over, it was going to be very difficult to escape, but Caden hits the double tap, and that's enough damage.
Baronic's here as well. Could dash forward here, but instead going to pull up those Taiko drums and just pound Visions down 2 for 1 on the right side of the map. Jarman falls, but Fatal Ghost needs to be careful on the left.
Yeah, that did go in favor of Strictly Business. Griffin slays, trying to take down Fatal Ghost, who drops his own ultimate to keep anyone from moving further, but they did get his Aegis out, so that's a good trade for him, taking Fatal Ghost's Aegis on cooldown.
Griffin a little bit behind in terms of total farm in this one, but down about 500, which is surprising because Jingwei's the whole appeal of picking Jingwei is how quickly she could farm in the early game, and with Mr. Teep committing to the left-hand side, trying to kill Fatal Ghost, opens up the Portal Demon for Strictly Business, and they'll take it without much worry. Griffin is a little bit new to the SCL still, and in his short time has proven to be one of the more passive ADCs. And that's not necessarily a knock on him. There are plenty of ADCs in the past who have played very passive and seen great success. Young Bae, back in the very old days. Barracuda had a phase where he was very, very passive and still found great success. It's just a matter of if Griffin can make those big plays in the later stages, because Elevate's not really counting on him to make those plays in lane necessarily.
Yeah, and Caden here, he's 12-0-1. I think that's a big part of why we've been seeing so much damage coming out from him. That double tap he had, it was about 40% HP or so that he was able to clean that kill up at. So Caden doing a very good job farming successfully. He level 12 here already and getting a lot out of that Brawler's beat stick.
Still a little bit ahead of Dr. L, certainly in terms of net worth. Caden's in the middle of the pack, a little bit towards the top. Dr. L all the way at the bottom, and who's there with him? Mr. Teep on the Opwash. The mid-jungle combination for Strictly Business way ahead in terms of gold and experience. And a lot of that is because of the early kills on Mr. Teep, as well as these speed buff invades. Look at where Caden is. He's there before the speed buff even spawns.
Yeah, this whole time, really, they've had control over this speed buff over here, and now they're going to back off one more time. Looks like they successfully dropped it here again.
Neximus tried to chase Strictly Business off of it, but wasn't successful in doing so. Though Caden won't get the benefit of picking up the speed, as now he's got to worry about Dr. L and Neximus here. Nice pluck and stun between the two. Caden can't hammer away during that entangling roots cripple field, but waits it out nicely.
And that's what RDO does so well. That cripple field's so large, and it persists even through the stance change as well. So she can switch on and start slashing at you, even stun you, and still have that cripple field on you at the end of it. So it's part of what makes her potent in the early, is her ability to access all that control so easily, as we do have a bit of a pause coming out here.
And that entangling roots is going to pay big dividends against the roster that Strictly Business has drafted. I mean, RTO was the first pick, and Strictly Business still went for gods like Hu Yi, Raijin, Thor, Sobek, Matt Koi's on the Terra. Every single one of those guys has a dash or a jump. So you have to be careful of that entangling roots from RTO. Make sure that you CC her, get away from her a little bit, or just wait it out. But that duration is really, really long, so waiting it out usually just ends up getting a kill.
And that's sort of the strength of it, too. Like you said, it doesn't necessarily have to literally root out an escape. Just you having to stay there really is good enough, as Jarman is under pressure here on the right-hand side from Dr. L. Neximus once again, using some of that control we were just talking about to put him under pressure, pluck back into tower. But Neximus is a big old bear. Ain't too worried.
Not at all. And with that jungler on the right side of the map, look at where all of Strictly Business is going, right to the Gold Fury, and it's falling very low. Pretty quickly here, Opwash zoned away. Griffin Slay's the only one in there, but he can't steal it away. Strictly Business get another gold.
Caden up in the air, recognizing a bunch of damage went in onto Griffin Slays, perhaps looking for a chance to try and drop in, but instead goes towards Dr. L in the mid lane, whose dash comes out early to try and avoid it. Hammer only getting on the back swing. The wall, actually does cut Dr. L off. That was so important. Dr. L able to run back towards his teammates, but Baronic cleans it up.
Nice percussive storm for Baronic, the mid jungle. This time for Strictly Business on point. Now Caden in a bit of trouble, has to receive the shell from Matt Koi's. Double tap, hunting for Griffin, slays as Ryan Jarman joins the fight, but that means Neximus is here as well. That RTO's pretty strong. Ryan in a little bit of trouble, dashes away, and a good stun from Matt Koi's. CC's Griffin, who just can't quite find the kill.
Yeah, Griffin Slays recognizing the low health bars of Strictly Business and dashes in aggressively despite the Terra Blessing coming out from Matt Koi's. That's how he cleans up 2 quick kills, 2 for 1 overall in favor of Strictly Business.
SB got what they wanted. They got the kill onto Dr. L off a great wall in combination for Baronic over the wall with a Percussive Storm, and then they stuck around too long.
Yes.
That has to be a disengaged call, because look at all the resources that Strictly Business had already used. Fatal Ghost wasn't even there. He'd use his ultimate. Baronic used his ultimate. Caden, Jarman was there, but already low HP. There was just too little to expend in that team fight. Strictly Business should have recognized that and backed up.
And is that a miscommunication? Because Matt Koiz pulls what I call the panic switch, the Terra ultimate, almost immediately when things start turning south there. But you see Ryan Jarman kind of stick around a little bit in that Harpy camp as well.
Could be. It's tough to say without being able to actually listen into their calls if Matt Koiz is saying we need to get out, or maybe he's popping Terra's Blessing aggressively to say let's get in there and fight, because even if you have low mana, that doesn't matter whenever Terra's Blessing's used, because you don't have to use any mana for your abilities. It's difficult to say. Whenever someone makes that call, though, to disengage, it has to be the first thing you listen to. Disengage and engage are the two most important calls that need to be respected as quickly as possible.
Once again, Strictly Business trying to be around here for this speed buff, but this time they're not able to. Neximus getting some poke off onto Jarman, but Jarman's a crocodile, doesn't care too much. Lots of animals in this game hanging out. That's high-level analysis.
Sure is. Why are you in that chair 1 spot?
Yeah, I don't know.
Come over here and do this.
I don't know. Why am I even just a guest? Come on, guys. I know what animals are. Come on.
That's all you need. Clear. You've been listening to FDOT's casting.
That's right. Learning maybe from the wrong guy. No,
yeah,
Tom's
you gotta commit. If you're gonna throw shade, Finch, I'd recommend just full committed.
Yeah, just go all in on the shade.
Yeah, that was a little. Just you had 1 foot in, 1 foot out, and that's not what Hindu likes. Hindu wants you to
no, Hindu goes all
someone.
in. Just like looks like they're going all in on this Portal Demon. Our Strictly Business over here, already down to half health. Dr. L not able to get in after the root from Matt Koiz, but in the backside, Neximus trying to disrupt Fatal Ghost from putting DPS in. Caden up into the air, and he's looking for Dr. L, who's getting pulled in by Baronic up in the air. The wall is enough to stun him, and Dr. L drops.
Nice combination that time. Mr. T has to use the beads because of the pluck from Jarman. Now Jarman in some trouble getting slowed. Sprint is good, and Baronic finds Neximus on the backside, but this Sobek still in trouble until Teep's zombies get blocked off by the wall.
Caden with a strong wall there keeps Griffin Slays from being able to push in any further into Ryan Jarman after that pluck came out. They did have to drop that Portal Demon in that engagement, but Strictly Business win 2-0, and they're pulling it back up here again.
Already pretty low, using that sustain from the Terra. Vision's looking for it. He can't find it. Airstrike up and over the wall. Not enough to find the kill, but plenty of damage coming out of Griffin Slays, as this time Strictly Business has no qualms about retreating.
Jarman getting taken down by Griffin Slays, who once again continues to play aggressive. That's just the Raiju slamming through the team. But I like what Visions did. He goes in and uses the silencer, the Ohm, so that Griffin Slays can bring in the damage over the top and not have to worry about anybody jumping out.
Griffin looking pretty solid in this game. One of the better performances of his young SCL career for sure. He's 3rd on the player damage chart, 2nd on his team. And the RTO doesn't really count. That's solo lane. You're slapping one another as Guardians. As Mr. Teep caught out again in the mid lane, living that Opwash life. He's going to fall to Fatal Ghost, but Caden might have overcommitted here.
Yeah, he did survive thanks to the Aegis a little bit longer, so that it made Caden had to overcommit. Caden pops his own Aegis, though, to get away from Neximus, and now Baronic's the one up into the ultimate, and he's pushing into the damage on the back of the bear. The wall wasn't enough to keep him locked in. Even Fatal Ghost is locked in now because of just how tight that wall was.
Man, the Terra walls today. First it was the game against Obey where Jelly gets crushed by a monolith for the first blood using the block, the Sobek dash there. Matt Koiz with the crushing earth walls to block the geometry, and Griffin Slay's got to worry about Fatal Ghost. He crit him once, that means he can't crit him again. A little bit of time, and you has to use the purification beads off the stun from the Strictly Business Hunter, as now SB groups around this Gold Fury. They have 5 members. Some members from Elevate coming back.
Dr. L and Griffin Slays are the ones here, but already taking out a bunch of poke is Dr. L down to half health. Griffin Slays also taking a lot of damage. Thank you, Baronic, for that. He had to back off. Dr. L, though, gets picked up by Jarman. Now it's Visions who's getting rooted out by Terra, and the Huyi Sons from Fatal Ghost are on top, and that's enough to secure that kill as well. The pluck coming out from Jarman, but not really any follow-up here just yet. Using the ultimate to slow him down so Caden can get some poke in himself.
And this is all in the name of making sure SB gets a Gold Fury without much worry, and they do that exactly. 12-6, doubling up Elevate and kills. Getting pretty close to 10,000 gold in the lead already. And you know what? It's not over yet, but I think it's pretty safe to say that the Opwash 3rd pick is probably not going to happen in Game 2.
Opwash having a really hard time here. Not going to be able to provide much damage as it is. Warlock Sash, cooldown boots, and Hide of the Urchin. There's really no damage items there in the build so far.
And we've talked about it a lot recently, especially with how popular Hide of the Urchin has become. Hide of the Urchin and as a mid lane mage. Great when you're ahead. Awful when you're behind. Awful when you're this far behind, especially. Look, Opwash really needs to be able to survive and put out multiple throws of that corpse surge, your corpse explosion, whatever it may be. You're never going to do any damage with this sort of build. I mean, he has literally no pen. At 22, nearly 23 minutes, there is 0 penetration in that build for Mr. Teep. The only thing that he's relying on is the Void Stone coming out of Neximus or from Visions. They're kind of augmenting that lack of pen with their builds, but it's never going to be enough to find kills onto 2 Guardians that have been all over him between Jarman and Matt Kois.
Yeah, Barana getting a lot of poke there in the mid lane, having to back off. But speaking of these builds here, it seems like crit builds are kind of coming back in for these hunters right now as Fatal Ghost has gone the Deathbringer and the Poison Star. Makes sense on Jingwei with the crit in her kit, but why are we seeing a little bit more of that return back to those crit builds?
It's the fact that Ichabod was nerfed. That opened up the entire door for all these different hunter builds, and a bunch of other crit items got buffed. Poison Star and Deathbringer, to name a few.
And it's Elevate the ones that are aggressive here in this mid lane, going for the tier 1 tower. Fatal Ghost drops the ultimate over the top, as does Mr. Teep, but it's Caden landing down the back line that forced out the Aegis early from Mr. Teep. Baronic claims up next to Miss, who's in the back line, and the pluck coming out from Jarman was enough to pull Visions back into trouble. 2 of the frontliners for Elevate are already gone. Dr. L, Mr. Teep got to run.
Baronic very low, but will survive. Jarman doing a great job on this Sobek, just being disruptive in the front line, setting up his team whenever they're ready for the next target. Oh, you guys took care of the first one? All right, here's another. You can kill this one next. Oh, you need another? I've got one for you. Just tossing them back one by one. And now the Fire Giant goes down for strictly business. And again, Mr. Teep and Griffin just on the run from the very beginning because Jarman and Caden go immediately into the back line, and that allows Fatal Ghost and Baronic to just handle Neximus right off the bat.
They both had to use their ultimates defensively in that fight. Griffin literally using his ultimate to run away, and then Mr. Teep, half of his was in the wall as he threw it out, kind of trying to make sure that Caden couldn't land on him and take out his whole HP bar. So at this point, they're really having a difficult time having a offensive impact in these team fights for Elevate.
And that's the whole name of the game for gods like Thor and Sobek. They want to make you use your ultimates defensively. They want to force you out of these fights, and especially for Mr. Teep, who needs to be close in order to deal his damage, that makes it really, really difficult to put up the numbers that he needs to.
And I know you said earlier in the game it was almost a 10K gold lead. Well, now it really is a 10K gold lead here in favor of Strictly Business as they lead the kills 14-6 at 25 minutes in. Also securing the Portal Demon on the right-hand side, giving them a chance to back and then move back into the map very easily with that Portal Demon. Experience lead also up at 11,000.
And SB has really never let go of this lead ever since they got it off the first spawn of the speed buff. They killed Mr. Teep pre-level 5 just for being Opwash in the middle of a lane. This has just been, in my mind, a failed experiment from Elevate. Again, I don't understand why they picked Opwash so early, and it just hasn't worked out thus far. And honestly, they haven't played poorly. It's just been the fact that I think that the picks for Strictly Business were simply better and put them in a much easier win path for this game.
Strictly Business have definitely been playing their comp, or the advantage that their comp provides them very, very well. Splitting the map early, forcing the issue with a 10-minute Gold Fury on the duo lane side of the map. So I agree, it's more well played to Strictly Business for recognizing where their advantage in their team comp is, as they do clean up that tier 2 tower on the right and are looking to aggress over here on the tier 2 and mid.
Double stun there by Matt Kois, set up by Caden as Strictly Business look for the tier 2 and mid. Vision's ultimate doesn't really do a lot. Lets Caden know where he can and can't walk, but he's not too worried about it.
And that's very important. Vision's ultimate has been one of the ones that's been more disruptive to Caden and Matt Kois when they try and go in on the back line. So that's not even going to be an option to defend this tier 2 here in mid. Jarman taking a couple slaps from the towers. They wait for their minion wave to come in and do some of this tanking for them. Fatal Ghost Ricochet's definitely landing on the mark, and there's the pluck from Jarman. That's how we're going to start the fight here. Neximus does do up the Thorns to try and return some of the damage, and Caden goes up into the air.
Dr. L around the side, doesn't quite find the target as Caden playing patiently, looking for the 1v1, and finds Dr. L in that jungle, who doesn't use the ultimate quite yet, instead dashes away. Jarman needs to be careful about plucking gods like Neximus because he's just initiating for Elevate.
Dr. L does immediately pop the beads, though, when Caden drops on him, and Vision L's also, Heximus, excuse me, also drops when he gets pulled into the back line. So when Dr. L does return, his beads won't be available, and Griffin Slays won't be available for this defense. Mr. Teep having to use that Aegis, as there's a whole lot of aggression there on him. Tier 2 tower does finally fall. Mr. Teep falls along with it.
Another kill for Strictly Business. They find 3, and now they're going to find the mid Phoenix as well. Are they going to just go for the end here?
That's what it looks like to me. They recognize they got a 5v3 advantage with the Fire Giant buff. Caden takes down Visions with no problem there. That's going to be no more for the Ohm Elephant Man. No peace here. Dr. L also in a lot of trouble, and that's it. Tighten down.
Impressive stuff from Strictly Business. That last team fight, the first initiation by Jarman, not the best. You're tossing a solo laner into the thick of your team that wants to be in the thick of your team. But the second time that he does it, Neximus is already pretty low, and that sets the ball rolling. Then Baronic makes an insane play.
Oh, yeah.
He 100-0s Griffin basically by himself, throws down the Raiju and immediately up into the Taiko drums, and it just bursts him through the purification beads. And then he dashes forward and catches Teep, setting up that kill for Jarman as well. Raijin's back. If you had any doubt, this god is really, really potent in that mid lane.
Yeah, Jarman was really dictating the pace of this game. As you said, his plucks were definitely on point. Not just plucking someone back into the team at random, but once his team was to the point where they were grouped around, ready to blow a target up, then he was plucking priority targets like Mr. Teeps, like some of the damage dealers there for Elevate Gaming. So he was doing such a good job, I think, of isolating players and pulling them onto the back line, setting up his carries.
And Sobek is unpeelable. There's just no peel that you could do to get Sobek away from one of your carries, especially when he's lurking in the waters. And with the long-range damage that Baronic supplied, also being aggressive when necessary, dashing in, his game on Raijin was really impressive to me.
Baronic was a huge part of why this team was able to do so well. All immediately following up with those ultimates. I didn't see him hesitating when the setup came out, when the calls were made, when Caden was up in the air. Baronic had his finger ready to put that ultimate up, and he followed up immediately. And he didn't always just do damage. There were a couple of times where we saw him taunting them in with it to provide control as well.
And like I said at the very beginning, he had a 1,000 gold lead over his mid lane opponent. What's he going to do with it? How well can he leverage that lead and make it and push that lead even further for his team? And that's exactly what you have to do. Stay alive, push your damage, stay safe, make it so that the frontliners who are getting into the back line to try and knock you down are saying, oh my god, he's so fed, he does so much damage, I'm not doing anything to him. That's what you have to do as a mid laner who has a lead, and Baronic played it very well.
Yeah, Baronic was in the position where there really wasn't a way for anyone to dive on him and try and make anything happen for him. So hopefully what we're going to see is something better than the op watch from Elevate here as he go into